Three energy directions so far. The first day we covered the downward and grounding energy and the upward and outward energy. And then yesterday we covered the energy that goes from the heart and out. And so today's energy is actually about digestion, which kind of fits with the topic of core. So the digestion energy is that taking in not just of your food and whatever beverages you drink, but also taking in of the experiences, the emotions, the sensations that come about. And so this is a very internal energy, and it's very core related. It also includes some twisting. So today we'll focus a lot on this energy called Samana Vayu. If you want to know the Sanskrit, Samana Vayu. And so as we take some core exercises and some twists, I really invite you to recognize the shape of your spine. We do this a lot in my classes, right? We notice a neutral spine for ourselves and creating tone around it. And this tone around that neutral spine helps preserve the spine. So if you've had any disc issues like bulging discs or herniated discs or anything like that, then this is one of the ways that we help prevent bulges from happening again, or help prevent it from happening at all. And recognizing that, especially through our lower back, the lumbar spine, there's very little movement that's actually supposed to happen. So we're not supposed to do a lot of twisting and back bending from the low back. That's all supposed to happen from the ribs up, okay? So we'll try to focus on this action of keeping our spine in a neutral place as we do our movement. So I'll mute everybody now and we'll take a good seat. And as you take your good seat, be sure you have the props that you need. Again, we're going to do some core work and some twisting today. And so you get to really recognize how it is that you are going to be the longest through your spine, able to be neutral through your spine, and make that movement. So oftentimes that means bringing yourself a little further away from the floor. So in your comfortable seat, notice how your hips are feeling, your low back is feeling, and if you're feeling tight in those areas, then sit up a little bit higher. And then move your sitting bones. And connect hands together at heart center, and with your eyes closed, take a moment to tune into a full, deep inhale and exhale in and out of your nose. Noticing all the way down to your tailbone and through your sacrum up into your low back. And notice a tilt of your pelvis, so your belly is tilting just a little bit forward. Then as you take your next couple of breaths, you'll let your breath move into your belly, your ribs, your chest on the inhale, and then back through chest, ribs, and belly on the exhale, finding that three-part breath. And now releasing hands down and opening your eyes. Take a moment to move really gently through your spine in a cat and cow. This is one of these places where it's a little bit more passive in the movement, so we're not creating a lot of muscle tone or action. So then we can allow the low back to move a little bit forward and back. But I also want you to think about gentleness. Not necessarily going to the deepest place you've ever gone in your cat and cow. Inhale, heart and belly forward. Exhale, press your spine back. Take another couple of breaths this way. Then inhale, sit tall, and take one hand to your belly, one hand all the way down to your sacrum, your low back, just above your tailbone. And tilt your pelvis so your belly moves back. And you'll feel maybe your sacrum move back. And then tilt your pelvis so your belly moves forward, your sacrum moves forward. Keep that tilt. And now bring hands up to the sides of your ribs. And as you take an inhale, sit a little taller. Think of lifting your ribs up. As you exhale, cinch in with your low ribs, but keep that tilt of your pelvis so that your belly's coming forward. Inhale, lift your ribs up, and exhale, cinch your low ribs in. This action at your upper core is a part of that energy of hugging in. Inhale, lift your ribs up one more time, and exhale, knit your ribs together. And then relax this action. Take just a couple moments, maybe move through your hips. And now come to that neutral place for your spine again, where your belly is moving just a little bit forward. Your lumbar curve is happening. And then hands to your ribs again. And this time, we're going to take a twist with our hands at our ribs. So we're going to feel the action of your low ribs moving in to help you twist, okay? So inhale, lift up through your sides. Exhale, cinch your low ribs in to take a twist. Try to keep your lumbar spine neutral, but to twist starting at the low ribs. Inhale, lift your ribs, and exhale, cinch the low ribs in to help you twist. One more time, inhale and exhale. Inhale back into center, release your hands down and just take a moment to shift and move. And just realize that this means that sometimes that deep, deep, deep twist might not happen, but any variation of twist, any amount of twist is beneficial. So again, tilt the pelvis, belly comes forward, lift your ribs, take a big inhale here. Exhale, low ribs cinch in to help you start to twist to the right. Inhale and exhale. Low ribs for the twist. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, unwind, release your hands and take just a little bit of shift and movement. Then switch the cross of your legs, coming to maybe the less comfortable cross for yourself. Shift your sitting bones. And then hands to your knees this time. Root down with your hands, lengthen your sides, draw your shoulders up and back. And now as you exhale, low ribs draw in to help you twist. Inhale, lengthen your sides. Exhale, low ribs in to help you twist. Maybe you reach across with your right hand to your left knee or thigh. Left fingertips behind you. Find a big inhale and sit taller. Exhale, low ribs in. Inhale, back into center. Exhale, low ribs in to help you start that twist to the right. Inhale, length. Exhale, low ribs engage. Your left hand is coming across to your right knee or thigh if that feels good. Right fingertips help to press for that length. Exhale, low ribs in to help you twist. Inhale, unwind. And now walk your hands out just a little ways in front of you. And as you do so, in order to keep the tilt of your pelvis so your belly is coming forward, it's like your sitting bones are trying to tilt upward. You might have to bring hands up to something in front of you. So find where that is for you. And from this place, push with your hands, keep your belly tilting forward, but draw your low ribs in and find a cat pose in your upper back. Just your upper back. Keep the tilt of your low belly forward in your low back. But press your hands down, round into your upper back, expanding into that space in between your collarbones, not your collarbones, your shoulder blades. Wrong side. Inhale, extend your heart forward. And again, exhale, round into the upper back. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, extend your heart forward, and then work your way as deeply into a fold as your body is ready for. Maybe you set your elbows down here. Maybe you come down toward hands or forearms on the ground. But notice if your low back at your sacrum starts to press or round back, then maybe come up a little ways. Take a big breath. And now, shifting aside props if you're using them, we're going to shift into our down dog, coming onto hands and knees to set up, if that's in your practice, or shift right away to down dog. But find that rotation of elbow pits forward and push. Tuck your toes under, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog pose, and then take a big deep breath here. Rooting through the four corners of your palms, as you rotate your elbow pits forward and push, also lift your sitting bones up higher. A little bend to your knees and sway your hips a little side to side, letting your shoulders stay really steady. And now walk your way forward, coming into your forward fold at the front of your mat. Take an inhale and lengthen part way, keeping a bend to your knees, extend your heart. Exhale and fold over your legs. Inhale and lengthen. And now pause here. We're coming into a little modified version of chair pose. So bend your knees even more. Get your hips as low as your body is ready for. And think about pressing into the front parts of your feet, even as you move some weight into your heels. Our tendency is to let our shins come forward. We want them to be moving back a little ways. So now reach your right hand across to your left knee or thigh, left hand to your hip. Press both sitting bones back, then draw your low ribs in to help you twist a little bit to the left side. We'll come back to this, so we'll take a deeper version in a little bit. Take a big deep breath. Inhale, come back into center, and exhale, left hand to your right knee or thigh, right hand to your hip. Move both sitting bones back. Exhale, low ribs in to help you twist to the right side. One more big breath here. Inhale, back into center. And exhale, fold over your legs. Feel free to set hands on something here if you would like. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and fold. Plant fingertips, step your right foot back into your lunge. And your choice, back knee up or down, bring your hands up to your hips to rise. And center with your hips. Press down with your hands on your hips, lift your sides, lift your ribs, and then hug them in. Your exhale is really helpful for that action. Inhale, lift your chest, your heart. Exhale, low ribs in. Then come to whatever variation of arms feels good to you. Take a full big breath. Next exhale, hands come down to the front of your mat. Back knee again can be up or down, your choice. Set your right hand on your block or the floor, left hand on your knee. Now, before you twist open, I want you to notice your hips. The tendency is to drop your right hip down. I want you to push your back knee down and level your hips. So bring your right hip up to meet your left. Now, push your right hand into the ground and exhale, low ribs in to help you start to twist from your upper back, from your rib cage. I should say mid back and upper back. Take another big deep breath here and lift your right hip up again, allowing your sacrum to be more even. Exhale, both hands come back to the ground, settle back into a downward facing dog pose and take a big breath. Root with your hands, rotate elbow pits and push. Inhale, come forward into your plank. Knees on the ground if you would like to, or stay up on your toes, that's fine too. But stay rotated with your upper arm bones and push. Lifting through your low ribs, extend your chest forward. Big deep breath. As you exhale, bend your elbows lower down. Inhale, curl up and open through your upper back. Instead of finding that back bend in your low back, take a low cobra, take a big deep breath. Fill up your low back with breath. Even think of letting your low belly draw in a little. Next inhale, use your breath to help you rise up a little higher. Exhale, tuck toes, push back into downward facing dog pose. And then walk your way forward. Take as many steps as you need to come to forward fold. Take an inhale and lengthen part way. Exhale and fold over your legs. Plant your fingertips. You're stepping left foot back into your lunge. Bring hands up to your hips to rise and center with your hips. Settle into your front knee. Then use your exhale to help you find that low rib engagement. Inhale, lift your chest, your heart. Take whatever variation with your arms feels good. Big, deep breath. Next exhale, hands come down to the front of your mat. And again, you're welcome to have your back knee up or down, your choice. Set your left hand on your block or the floor, right hand on your knee. And before you turn open much, lift your left hip up. So your left and your right hip are even or closer to even. Push with your left hand. Take an exhale, draw your low ribs in to help you twist. Really try to not let your left hip dip down. Take a big, deep breath. Exhale, both hands come down to the front of your mat and step all the way back, downward facing dog pose. Big, full breath. Broad upper arm bones, broad upper back. Push from lats out through your hands. Lift your sitting bones. Inhale, come forward to a plank. Maybe knees come down. Rotate elbow pits forward and push. Extend. Now re-engage your low ribs. Keep your low ribs lifting even as you bend your elbows and lower down. Inhale, curl up and open into your cobra. But then notice if you've got a back bend in the low back or the upper back. So tone your low belly. That might take a little bit of the back bend out of the low back. And then settle hips back toward your heels in a child's pose, if that's in your practice. Take a big, deep breath. You might just lay all the way on your belly and rest your hands underneath your head. And then as you're ready to, downward facing dog pose, hips lift up and back. And walk your way forward, coming into your forward fold at the front of your mat. Take an inhale and lengthen part way. Exhale and fold. Hands to hips. Press back with your hips. Start to lift shoulders up and back and rise all the way up. So we're going to take our chair pose with the twist and then step back from it into our lunge. So as we do this, you get to notice where your body is right now, where your energy level is right now, and maybe choose to do a modified version of it, okay? So as you find your feet inner hip distance apart and parallel, lift and spread your toes, fire them up, and then push down with your toes. And now bend your knees, start to sit your hips back. You might feel the weight get a little bit light on your toes. You're going to keep your toes planted and let your shins move back a little bit. So now hands come to your thighs right at your knees, and then set your hips down a little bit further. Send your inner thighs back, stick your butt back, even think of your sitting bones trying to move broad. And then engage your glutes, wrap them down and under. Now, low belly, low ribs engage. And then reach, right hand across to your left knee, left hand to your hip. Extend through your spine. Send both sitting bones back. Tone your low ribs as you twist. And then your choice, if you'd like to, you can set your right elbow down, take hands to connect, and then lift your heart up towards your hands as you press. Or stay with hands, one at your knee, one at your hip. Either way works for this. Even out your knees. And then as you send both sitting bones back, exhale, low ribs in to help your heart twist more. Now shift your weight onto your left foot, and you might take one big step back into your lunge, or you might take a couple bumps back. Take a big deep breath. Push down with your hands or with your elbow to lift your heart up a little higher, twisting from your low ribs. Think of your left hip, just kidding, your right hip, staying lifted as opposed to dropping down. Now, tone your low belly, tone your low ribs, and step forward into your twisted chair. On your exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, lengthen part way. Exhale and fold. Hands up above your knees. Bend your knees. And again, you're rooting your toes down even though they're starting to get light because you're shifting your weight back to your heels. Your shins are moving back. From this place, as you settle your hips down a little more, you're taking your left hand across to your right knee, right hand to your hip. Send inner thighs back, sitting bones back. Maybe work your elbow down to your knee. Maybe stack hands. Again, you can always stay with your hands at your knee or your hip. Take a big breath, and as you exhale, draw your low ribs in to help you twist a little more. Take a big, deep inhale, long, full exhale. Start to tone low belly, low ribs, and maybe bump your foot back or step your left foot all the way back into a lunge, your choice. Back knee can always be down here. Take a big, deep breath. And remember, lift your left hip up. Press down with your elbow, and draw your low ribs in, twisting your heart more toward your hands or more toward the right side. Big breath. And now tone your core again. Low belly, low ribs engage, and step left foot to meet your right. Next exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and fold. Plant hands, we're stepping back to downward facing dog pose, full breath. And now we're gonna come all the way down to a seat. So from knees, shift legs to the side and come all the way to your hips. Feet out in front of you, and then take a moment here to just feel the contact of your feet on the ground, move your sitting bones. And now we don't very often do our boat pose because it's hard to actually get the low back in a really healthy, safe position. So what I want you to remember with this boat pose is that the low back does not round back, okay? So from right here, you can check that tilt of your pelvis. In one direction, your sacrum moves back and your low back collapses back. In another direction, your sacrum moves forward, your belly moves forward. So that's the neutral spine place that we want to find. We're going to keep that even as we rock onto our toes and we lean back, but we're not collapsing back. We're keeping lifted through our low back. From here, you can stay right where you are, or you can reach your arms. Notice if you start to round back, and maybe bring your hands back to your knees. If you'd like, you can lift legs, coming to more of a tabletop, or even straight. Straight, I find really hard. But wherever that is for you, notice your low back and lift it. Take a big, deep breath. Plug in with your shoulder blades, lift your heart up. And then gently set both feet down. And now bring soles of feet together, knees open wide into your butterfly. And just allow a little bit of that stretch through the inner thigh, through the groin. Take a couple big breaths, move your sitting bones. And then if keeping your sacrum moving forward is in your practice, maybe take a little bit of a fold. But if that just makes your low back round back, then sit up a little ways. So take a big breath. And inhale, rise back up. And we're going to take our boat pose one more time. And this time we're going to add a twist to it. So again, if you find that that collapsing back happens with your low back, then keep your feet on the ground or bring them back to the ground to help you. Or you can just come back to holding onto your knees. That's always an option. So tilt your pelvis and then rock to toes, starting to rock a little bit back. If you'd like, reach your arms. If you'd like, reach your legs, but lift through your sacrum. Hands come together to clasp, and you can do this with feet on the ground. That's my favorite way to do it. So now as you twist to the left side, low ribs draw in, but your sacrum is tilted, your pelvis is tilted forward. And then to the right side, same thing, tilt your pelvis. To the left side, to the right side. Good, one more time on each side, to the left, to the right. Back into center, and then release your feet down, come all the way back upright. One more time, feet together to open up with your thighs. And so this time, we're gonna think of stretching out through our thighs. Hold on where you need to, shins, toes, behind you, and reach long through your thighs. Sometimes what happens is your knees move toward the ground when you do that. And then release. One more time, reach and release. Okay, footprints to the floor and lay all the way down onto your back. And from your back, hug knees in, rock side to side. And notice when you do this, when you hug your knees in, whether your knees are wide or narrow, your sitting bones tend to tilt up and your low back flattens. Just notice that here. It's just a natural place that we would try not to do necessarily a lot of big muscular movement from a flattened low back. And then back into center, set your footprints on the ground and hands come to your hips, your hip bones, and tilt your pelvis so your sitting bones are moving down. So you have a lift through your lumbar curve, through your lumbar spine rather. From that place, tone your low belly. See if you can hug it in without flattening your low back to the ground. Tone your low ribs so you have a cinching in action around your core without flattening your low back. Then lift your legs up to 90 degrees. Feet are active here. Imagine hugging something in between your legs so you have some tone. Tone your low belly and your low ribs, but keep that tilt of your pelvis so you can stick your hand underneath your low back. Hands come to your thighs and give your thighs a push. Try to push your thighs away from you, but resist. We're gonna take about 5 big breaths here. So how hard you push is up to you. Big, deep breath. And as you breathe, the harder you work, the harder it is to breathe, but the harder it is to maintain that neutral spine. And take 2 more full breaths here and try to keep the lumbar curve even as you're toning. Then hug your knees in and rock side to side. And set your footprints on the ground. And now start to find a really comfortable resting place. Put something underneath your knees for support. Or maybe take a butterfly here with blocks underneath your legs. Whatever it is that your body could use to rest, find an even pose for yourself. That might even be coming up to a seated meditation place. But we'll take a few breaths and let ourselves settle in. Begin to take a deeper breath. Take some gentle movement into fingers and into toes. As you're ready to bend your knees and roll over to your side. And as you take this curled up position on your side, turn your belly and your heart nice and close to the ground. And then gently press yourself back up to your seat. And take a hand to your belly and a hand to your heart. With your eyes closed, take a moment to not just take a full breath, but to feel the energy around your core. Notice what's present. Hands come to heart center. Take a deep inhale and sit taller. Exhale, bow towards your heart. Have a very beautiful day. Namaste.